Well, hello, everybody. So good to be with you here today. It is Thursday. It is Thursday. It's um, it's been a good day. It's been a good day. I've been just kind of studying today and getting with the Lord and thinking about some things for Sunday. So what I wanted to do was just give you a sneak peek and a snapshot of what we're going to be going through on Sunday with the Psalms. We're going to be in Psalm 58 this Sunday, and Psalm 58 is really interesting because it's what's called an imprecatory psalm. So imprecations is an interesting word. It means curses. So sometimes in the Psalms we encounter eh, really challenging words to deal with and really challenging phrases and a really challenging theme. Like for instance, in this psalm, in Psalm 58, David is um, he's praying to the Lord to help him and to deliver him from his enemies, right? But then as he's preparing to, he's asking the Lord to deliver him from his enemies. Check this out, like in Psalm, if in 58:5 and 6, right? Because he says they have venom in verse 4, like a serpent. And then it says in 6, oh God, break the teeth in their mouths, tear out the fangs of the young lions, O Lord. Look at verse 7. Let them vanish like water that runs away. When he aims his arrows, let them be blunted. And it's not as though we can say, hey, well, listen, there's probably some kind of spiritual, you know, meaning to this. I don't know that he means exactly that he wants them to be harmed. But if we look back into the Hebrew, the word shatter, I mean, listen to this. This is the Blue Letter Bible app, by the way. This is phenomenal for looking into the different words and study. There's a lot of different study features in this app that I can go through another time if you'd like me to. Just let me know. But listen, it means to tear down. That word shatter is it's translated shatter in our text as to tear down, break down, overthrow, beat down, break through, destroy, pluck down, pull down. You get it, ruined, right? That's literally what it means. And so he is literally asking for the Lord to shatter their teeth in their mouth, shatter them in their mouth, and then break out their fangs. And so, like, I don't know about you, but if my teeth were shattered in my mouth, I wouldn't be able to eat. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be able to, it would just be pain, you know? And if we think about it in that way, it's like, golly, that's a really gruesome picture, isn't it? And this is what the psalmist is here praying that the Lord would do to his enemy. Now, the word imprecation, like I said, it means to like curses, right? Curses that we talk to God about. And I think what we need to know is that like these are real feelings, okay? These are real thoughts that we have. And so, um, if they're real feelings and real thoughts that we have, then we should bring them to the Lord. Okay. I'm reading this book. This is one of the commentaries that I'm using for the study. Tremper Longman III, the Psalms. And so for this psalm, he's talking about imprecations and he says, and he's got a little section on curses and what that means, right? But one of the really amazing things that I love that he wrote in here, he says, God invites our honest prayers. Did you know that? God invites our honest prayers. It makes no sense for us to be dishonest with God or to try to hide from him the things that we're thinking or feeling. We know that God knows, right? So listen to this. Okay, so he says God invites our honest prayers when we are deeply harmed and our anger boils. It would be both fruitless, God reads our hearts, and dangerous to suppress those emotions rather than turning them over to God. So, and he says, and this is the important point, the imprecations are not just expressions of anger. They allow us to turn our anger over to God for him to act as he sees fit. This is hugely important. These prayers do not ask God for the resources and the opportunity to take vengeance on our enemies. They ask God to do so, or they ask God to do so and acknowledge his freedom. Listen to this, his freedom to act or not to act as he sees fit. So I think that's incredible. And the reason why is because it calls to mind the prayer of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane when he says, Father, if it be your will, let this cup of death pass from me. Yet not as I will, but your will be done. He's in agony praying that prayer, right? It says that he sweat drops of blood in that garden. That's when he starts bleeding. He starts to take on the sin of the world in the Garden of Gethsemane. I've said that before. And so he's got, he's about to be arrested and everything, but yet he prays that the will of God would be done. And so that is an instruction for us, for his disciples then who were with him. And he kept on telling them to be watchful and pray, right? Lest they enter into temptation, because the spirit indeed is willing, right? But the flesh is weak. And so as Jesus is telling them that, he's calling to mind the fact that when we pray, or he's bringing to attention to us that when we pray, we're not always going to be like, our attitudes are not always going to be in the right place. But if we're with God, then we're in the right place. Okay, so with these curses, David's like, listen, break their teeth in their mouths, tear out their fangs, let them vanish like water that runs away. When he aims his arrows, let me bring it up again. When he aims his arrows, listen to this, let them be blunted. Oh my gosh. And then he says, let them be like the snail that dissolves into slime, like the stillborn child who never sees the sun. Sooner than your pots can feel the heat of thorns or the green or ablaze, may he sweep them away. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So David is laying his mind and his heart out to the Lord to do as the Lord sees fit. As Trevor Long was saying, he said it makes no sense. It does no good to hold on to these things and like to not be transparent with the Lord, like to suppress things and not give them over to God. That's dangerous. You understand that when you suppress things in your mind, you keep the hamster wheel going. You know what I'm saying? You keep letting things run rampant in your mind and you let them fester and overwhelm. And that's when you continue to give them power. But you relieve those negative emotions and those negative feelings and those harmful things and those dangerous thoughts. You relieve yourself from those things and from the harm that they can do to you when you deliver them over to God and lay them at his feet and let him do with them what he will do as he desires, as he sees fit. We know that he's the perfect one, so his judgment is right. And so we can depend on him for it. And then we can see that if the things that we're praying actually don't come to pass, then God didn't want it to happen, right? But we're not taking it upon ourselves to act out vengefully in those ways. It's just thoughts that we have, things that we struggle with. Listen, we deal in a fallen flesh, in a fallen world. Things are coming at us a million miles a minute, especially now in this like wild age of technology and information. I never dreamed that I'd be able to be in my office, like literally streaming live to people and talking to people about Jesus. Like that's just wild to me that we can even do that now. Um, but listen, we're it's like we're getting force fed with a fire hose all this information now that we've got our, at our, the tips of our fingers and at the tips of our minds and everything like that, at the tops of our minds. But even within this day and age with sinfulness like it is, and everything is literally right in front of our eyes, we have to know that God will help us in this life if we will just bring everything to his feet. We're not always going to think right or act right. We're not always going to feel right. But if we bring all those feelings, whether right or wrong, to God, he will help us to deal with those things. And he'll show us in real time whether or not, hey, he's with that prayer or he ain't with that prayer. Sometimes God ain't with that prayer that we pray. But that prayer that we pray to God is prayed to the right place when we go to God. So, hey, listen, I hope that you'll be assured that even when you have feelings like this of you know, cursing somebody, praying that they get harmed or something like that because they're your enemy. Listen, if you feel that way, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I want you also to know that you can bring those things to Jesus. But I also want you to know that Jesus did call us not only to bring everything to him, but to turn the other cheek. Not only to bring everything to him and lay everything at his feet, but, to love our enemies and to pray for them, because it does no good just to be like everyone else who only prays for and loves the people who love them back. It's actually the challenge and the opportunity of the Christian to pray for those and to love people who will not love us back, and even those who harm us. If we can take a lesson from the apostle Stephen, who cried out in the words of Jesus at his death as he was being stoned, the first Christian martyr, right? He prayed for their forgiveness because he heard about and he was a witness of Jesus doing the very same thing. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Into your hands I commit my spirit. So let's take a lesson from Jesus. Let's take a lesson from our brother, Stephen in the book of Acts, and let's take a lesson here from David that we can bring our prayers to God no matter what they are and no matter what our thoughts are, but also our opportunity and our job is to leave them there at his feet to help to ask him and to um, really to be confident that he is going to deal with them. He is going to deal with our prayers. He's going to deal with our enemies, and he's always, and he's also going to deal with us. A lot of times, what needs to be changed is in here. It's not even out there that it needs to be changed, but what needs to be changed is in here, and God will show us that. So be encouraged, Christian. I love you so much. I can't wait to see you on Sunday. I hope that the rest of your week goes good and everything like that. And hey, listen, if you need anything in the meantime, you can always hit us up. We love you so much. God bless you. All right.